Hey, welcome. So in this video, we are going to go over how you can trigger instant outbound calls when anybody fills out a web form. Now, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate doing this with a wholesale real estate company, but this can be done for anything. It doesn't matter if you run a blue collar business, an attorney's office, whatever professional service, insert your industry here. How cool would it be if you could just trigger an outbound call, a qualification call, a booking call, whatever have you, as soon as somebody fills out a form, and you can do that 24/7. Now, this video is going to show you how to do it exactly from A to Z. I'm not going to focus too much on the prompts in this video. I have other videos on my channel that have prompts. I also have a voice AI course that I sell for $27, and I'm not trying to gatekeep the prompts. It's just time consuming to go over them. We're going to skim over them. You're going to see them. You can actually pause the video and copy them over. But the point of this video is not to focus on prompting. It's more to focus on the integration between GoHighLevel and the voice API. I think that's sort of the most difficult part of all this. Prompting is certainly important, but I don't want to focus on too many things in this video. Now, this is incredibly powerful. So speed of lead is huge, especially in a industry like real estate where it's highly competitive. And so the ability to call somebody is big. And this is AI calling somebody. And I recognize that not a lot of people are not everybody's going to respond to an AI call. Some people may hang up, but what this is a tool in your tool chest for your business. It's not the end all be all. It's not meant to replace a human being, but maybe it's an after hours service that you implement. Maybe it's an augment service that you implement where you augment your sales team with technology just like this. Let's get right into it. So if we come in here, I'm just sort of showing you the type of website that we have here. I have a demo website that we're going to submit a form and then see if we get a phone call on. And then here's just sort of the general flow of things. We're going to fill out a form. We should receive a call in like less than 30 seconds, really like 10 seconds. We should have a whole qualification conversation. And then from that, our high-level CRM should be updated. This would work with other CRMs as well. You would just need to make a separate integration or sort of maybe some configuration changes. If you watch this whole video, it is an advanced topic. If you watch this whole video and you're like, hey man, that's cool, or hey, this is like watching paint dry, I can't watch this whole video, and you want to implement this in your business, reach out to me. My email is going to be in the description. If you want this set up in your business, you can reach out. We can have a talk and see how it will fit in your business. I just want you to have all the information. So if you want to implement it yourself, you can. Or maybe you're an agency and you've been wondering how to do this, you can. In this video, we're also not going to focus on booking calls or booking appointments. That's going to be in a future video. It's a little bit more complicated, so we're just going to step into it, baby steps. If you notice here, one of the big, this is a screenshot from GoHighLevel's voice assistant, the organic one. One of the big limitations at this moment, and this may get fixed in the near future, they have announced that they're going to release outbound calls, but I don't know to what capacity or sort of when they're doing that. But right now, you can't call outbound. You can only accept inbound calls, which is extremely powerful. And I've released another video on how to configure that voice assistant if you wanted to have somebody answering the calls, or not somebody, but AI answering the calls. But we can't do voice AI outbound. So that forces us to find a third-party provider. And so in my research, I've found this system called Voice API. You may or may not know about it, but VAPI, which is if you haven't seen VAPI, let's see, VAPI. I can never type when I'm recording these videos, but it's voice AI for developers. It is a really neat put together system. Pricing is pretty cheap. It costs you nothing to sign up. You simply pay for usage, and this 5 cents a minute per call is misleading because that's what they're charging you, but there's also cost for sort of the AI models, the transcribing models and all that stuff. But it ends up being around 10 to 12 cents per minute on the call. And then you'll have to buy a phone number, so a $2 phone number. So I'll leave a link to VAPI down there. I don't think I have an affiliate link. If I do, I'll put it down there. But if I don't, I'm going to put the link down there as well. Just go ahead and sign up for a free account. You will have to add your credit card so you can buy a phone number if you want to follow along. I recommend you do. So there's some pros and cons. And what I've seen so far is that when we're using VAPI, Voice API, I'm going to use those two synonymously. Some of the pros is that it's faster from a latency perspective. And what does that mean? That means that every time I talk to the AI, it responds faster. And so that's good because that's more human-like. Like we sort of humans communicate and we process what people are saying in real time and we respond. It doesn't take us seconds to respond. And so sometimes I've noticed with GoHighLevel's voice API, it can be a little slow at times, especially in the inbound calls. It takes a few seconds sometimes to answer the call. Hopefully they do some optimization there, but right now it's sort of fast. Another thing is reliability and consistency. I'm going to lump those two together. And consistency in the GoHighLevel voice API. Again, I'm not here to sell you VAPI. I'm just telling you what I've seen in my experience. Sometimes GoHighLevel can be inconsistent. And like I said, one of the biggest frustrations I have with them is sometimes when you call, it takes a few seconds for the voice agent to initially start talking. And I don't think it's a huge deal, but I do think that some people are going to drop off because of it. And sometimes even mid-conversation, the latency can go up and it's just inconsistent. I've found that voice API or VAPI has been more consistent than HighLevel in this regard. Now, there are some cons. One, it's a third-party integration. So yet another service that somebody's paying for. And then you sort of have to marry the two together and try to get them to work. And so that can be frustrating. That can come with complexity. That can sort of make scale a little bit harder if you have to do this over multiple accounts. And so recognizing that as a con. Also, it's advanced, right? So there's some integrations, some more functionality that you're going to have to be familiar with or potentially hire a developer for. Got it. And phone number management. So you might be able to share your phone numbers between GoHighLevel and VAPI, especially if you're using your own Twilio. But if you're using the LC phone system, it can just get complicated. You might run into a situation where you have a phone number in VAPI and you have a phone number in HighLevel, and they're not necessarily the same. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't work out the integration between the two, but recognizing that's a potential con. What are the requirements for this video here? You need a GoHighLevel sub account, and you need a VAPI account, a free account, but we are going to spend a little bit of money testing and buying a phone number, which you don't need make.com. So this specific tutorial is not going to require make.com. If you don't know what make.com is, it is sort of a no-code automations platform, and a lot of people are using it, especially for stuff like voice AI. It's incredibly powerful, but it can be complex, so you don't need it. We're going to do everything we need to do within GoHighLevel workflows. And we don't need Zapier. We're just going to use GoHighLevel workflows. This is sort of our plan for today, and I'm building this live, so we might have to troubleshoot some of this stuff. And so some of these things are already created in my testing, like some of these custom fields. That's okay. This is meant to be an advanced video, not really focus on the basics. I have other videos showing you how to create things like custom fields and all that stuff, but we're going to create some custom fields. That's the information that is non-standard that we're going to collect from our leads or that conversation, the caller. In this case, it's not the caller because we're calling them. And then we are going to configure an AI assistant inside of VAPI. We're going to just copy and paste a main prompt that we have. And then we are going to configure some advanced settings and analysis settings. And then finally, we're going to go through the workflows. What do we need to do to make it all work? Let's hop right in. So first thing we're going to do is go to custom fields. So if we come in here to settings in our sub account and come down to custom fields, I already have them created, but I am going to show you them. So I believe I named it voice. Yeah, we're just going to build off the ones that we created here. But I essentially created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 custom fields, and we're looking for the ownership status. Does the person who we're talking to own the home? Their timeline for selling, the best time to call them back to make an offer, motivation, and occupancy. Now, notice here I said offer callback time. We're not going to book an appointment in this tutorial. In a future tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can book an appointment live on the call. But for now, we're going to keep it simple and just ask for a callback time. Now, all these things or all these custom fields are just normal text-based custom fields, strings. So if you come in here and you say single line, click next, you can create your custom fields here. So if you wanted to collect other information, you could, and you can store it. So those fields are already created. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to pop into VAPI. So if you're new to VAPI, just go ahead and log in. You're going to come in here to assistants, and then we are going to create an assistant. I'm actually going to duplicate this tab because, as I said, we're not going to focus on the prompting here. We're just going to focus on sort of the advanced settings and the integration settings. So let's come in here. Let's name this new assistant. I don't know. Let's name it Tristan. Awesome. We're going to start off with a blank template, and we are going to create the assistant. So let's see if I can make this bigger without blowing it out of proportion. Okay, so here's where you go through and prompt, and this isn't a full tutorial on how to use VAPI. That's not what it's intended to be. So I'm just going to copy and paste some stuff from a previous prompt that I had. So give me 1 second to find it. on other one. So here we go. So the first message here, if you take a look, it says hi first name, and you notice it's in squiggly brackets, and those are variables. This is information that we're going to pass into the voice API from GoHighLevel so that the voice assistant actually knows information about this lead, which is really powerful. And in VAPI, when you put things in these squiggly brackets, it's, hey, fill in the blank here with the information you have. All right, so it says, this is Chloe from Flipping Fayetteville. You recently requested a cash offer on your property. And then we have another one of those variables where, let's see if I can, where it says street address. So this is going to be the street address, 123 Main Street. Is now a good time to take 2 minutes to gather some details on our cash, or to pass to our cash offer team. So super simple. Again, not prompting, not optimized. And we're going to come in here and we are going to paste our prompt. And essentially what this is configured to do is telling it, hey, you're a friendly and professional representative from Flipping Fayetteville. You're here to collect sort of this information: ownership verification, property address, occupancy status, reason for selling. Probably remove this. Timeline for selling, best time for a follow-up, and then just sort of some general guidelines. Again, I'll drop this prompt in the description below if you want to download it, but again, the point of this is not for VAPI tutorial necessarily or a prompting example. But if you notice here, the cost of this is 8 cents and 8 cents per minute, and that starts to change once you start changing some of these models. So these models have different sort of metrics that go along with it, and then different pricing structures that go along with it. I'm not going to mess with the models here, but what I am going to do is I'm going to mess with the voice. So here in the voice, I like using 11 Labs. I think her name is Valley Girl. Yeah, Natasha Valley Girl. I just like the way that sounds. And so we're going to select that. But you notice when we did that, the price went up. So 11 Labs is a little bit more expensive. So we're sitting at 10 cents per minute, and that's all right. Latency is what it is here. That gets affected as well. If you're going through and optimizing, you can pay attention to all that. Sort of tells you where the costs are coming from if you hover over, and where the latency is coming from if you hover over. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come to analysis. And what we want to do is similar to in the GoHighLevel voice AI, and if you're not familiar, don't worry. But essentially what we want to tell this assistant is that anytime certain information that we're interested in, I want you to store it in a structured format. Okay, and it's not going to make much sense if you're not familiar with sort of programmatic ways of interacting with applications, but essentially we're storing values, and they're called keys, but we're going to define, okay, street address, and then the address of the street. Whenever we pass that information to GoHighLevel, we need it in a format that GoHighLevel can cleanly see, okay, hey, this is the street address, or this is the ownership status, and then we can put those building blocks in the right place. You'll see exactly what I mean by that. First thing we're going to do here is we are going to come into the analysis tab, and down here at the bottom, I'm here on another screen. So we're just going to say, hey, extract the following information from the call, if any. Now, important thing to note here, we're not going to make any of these required fields. These are not objectives. The bot's not going to press to try to get this information. It's just going to get it. It's going to analyze the conversation. And if any of this information is in the conversation, it's going to store those values and send it wherever we tell it to send it. We'll configure that part next. Just so high level, I like to save. So if you click this publish button, you want to save often anytime you make a change. So here, what we're going to do is, let's start adding properties. So these properties, that is the structured data, some of those variables that we're going to collect. And the first thing we're going to do, let's try to match our flow here, ownership status. So let me close these out. We're not getting confused. So ownership status. Notice I use what's called camel case. You don't necessarily have to follow a specific format, but I'd stay away from special characters unless it's like an underscore or something, because you're going to have to parse. You're going to have to sift through this data later on in GoHighLevel, and so the easier it is with the less special characters and stuff, it just makes it simpler. Here we're going to add a description, and we're going to say annotate the ownership status of it's not the caller, but of the lead. For example, caller is the owner. Caller inherited the property. Caller is not the owner. Okay, so giving it some examples, also giving it just a brief description on what we're trying to make it do. Be very brief here. try to use like direct language and not confuse it. Don't give it too many options. I don't give it examples in every scenario, but just in some places where it's not as clear, I'd give it examples. So we're going to publish that. Next one we are going to create is seller timeline. So let's come in here. Seller timeline. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay, it is a string. So you have sort of these different field types, and so we're just going to select string for all of these. If it was a number, like if you were asking for how much they're looking to sell their home for, maybe you would make that a number so that on the back end you can just sort of do some math and use workflows to sort of trigger certain actions, but these are all going to be simple strings. Seller timeline, determine when the lead wants to sell their property. Example, ASAP, in a few months, next year. Just some examples in there. All right, next thing we're going to do is we are going to look at offer callback time. Offer callback time. Determine best time for our offer team to reach out. Examples, anytime, afternoons, weekends only. Cool. Next one we are going to create is motivation. Motivation, it's a string. Why does the lead want to sell the property? I'm not going to put any examples on there. That one's pretty straightforward. And then occupancy status, we are going to come in here, add property, occupancy. Note the occupancy status. If you have details about lease, if you have lease details for tenant occupied properties, save them here. And examples can be owner occupied, tenant occupied, month, 2 months, tenant occupied, year lease. All right, awesome. Now, these examples I'm giving it's not meant to sort of hamstring the AI into answering exactly this way. I just want to give it some examples on what it can expect. And this isn't an exact science for me. We're going to troubleshoot this live. So we'll see how it goes. So now this conversation is going to happen. And so while the conversation's happening, VAPI is going to be looking for this information. So it's going to be analyzing the call in real time and looking for this information. If it finds any of this information, it's going to store it in this value. Essentially, it's going to store these values in what we call structured data. And then it's just going to wait until the call's over in this case, because we're going to tell it, hey, when the call's over, send a message to GoHighLevel with sort of all of the call details. The end of call report is what it's called. And that end of call report is going to include this structured data. So next thing we're going to do is we are done here with the advanced section. We're going to publish this. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here to functions. And we're going to scroll down to, advanced. We're going to scroll down where it says messaging, this messaging section. And we're going to keep this server URL blank for now. We need to get a webhook that we'll paste in here. But under server messages here, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these. And all we are going to do is send this end of call report. So if you mess this up, you just come in here and just make sure the end of call report is sent. I'm not going to go over sort of the hang and the function calls and all that stuff that's required in some implementations, but right now we're just going to focus on the end of call report. Let's publish this. And then I'm going to leave this right here and we're going to come back. So next thing we need to do is configure GoHighLevel workflows. So essentially what we want to do is anytime this form is filled out, which is a GoHighLevel form, this will also work with WordPress or if you have a Carrot site or whatever other website you're using. this will work with that. I'm just going to use a GoHighLevel form here for simplicity's sake. But next thing we need to do is configure our workflow. So the first workflow we're going to create is our trigger outbound call workflow. So if we come in here to automations, we're going to create a workflow from scratch. And let's name this one VAPI trigger outbound call. Cool. The trigger here is going to be a form fill. So anytime a form is submitted, and we're going to call this form is wholesaler form is the name of my form. So anytime the wholesaler form, which is this form that I have embedded in this website, is filled out, trigger this workflow. So here we go. Next thing we're going to do here is we have to format the phone number. VAPI expects the phone number in a certain format. I think it's like E164 format. I don't know, but GoHighLevel is no stranger to this. And so they have a workflow action that is number formatter. And so we're going to say, we're going to name this format phone. Action type, we're going to format phone number. And then we're going to select a field. The field is going to be the contact's phone number in raw format. And then we're going to send it to format E164. And all that's going to do is put it in this format where you have the country code and then sort of the number that follows with no special characters, no parentheses, no hyphens or anything. And then the country code we're dealing with here is United States. Okay, and we are going to save. So now, next thing we're going to do is we need to send a webhook. So if we come into, let's see, VAPI API. So let's come into documentation and let's look at the API docs, API references. And what we need to do here is create a call, right? So we have this endpoint here. This is called an endpoint, this URL. And so we're going to call this endpoint, but we're going to fill this endpoint with certain information, and we're going to structure it a certain way. And if I remember correctly, there is a way for us to sort of structure this and create this API call in here. Let me see if I can find it because it's a pretty useful tool. Okay, cool. All I did here was click on the play button right here, and then it opens up the API Explorer. And it's going to ask us for our bearer token. Now, here's something that we didn't go over, like sort of in my overview, but which you do need an API token. And so what we're going to do is come into the VAPI dashboard, make sure you publish and save. And then you're going to come into your, I think it's right here. Yeah, you click on your name and then click on API keys. And then you'll have this API key here. Now, I'm going to delete this API key when it's all done, so you could see it. I have no problem with you seeing it, and it's not going to work, so don't worry about using it. But you're going to copy that API key, and then what you'll do is you can come in here and paste it. Cool. And then now, what you'll do is you're going to build your API call. So I'm referencing one that I already built here just so that we can speed through some of this. But essentially what we're wanting to pass through is we want to say, hey, we want to be able to tell it what assistant we're calling. So remember we created our assistant's name was Tristan. So we want to make sure that we're calling Tristan, and this is Tristan's assistant ID. So we can copy that, and then we can come into here and paste the assistant ID. And then the next thing we're going to do is we want to pass it the phone number, and let's see, what phone number are we going to call from? And that phone number ID is also located within your VAPI account. So if you come in here to phone number, if you don't have a phone number, make sure that you come in here and buy a phone number. It literally takes 2 seconds. If you wanted to import a phone number from your Twilio, you could, but we're going to come in here and copy this phone number ID. And then we're going to paste it in here. Next thing we want is the customer information. So we're going to pass through some customer information. So let's see. Where do we see customer? Awesome. So in this customer information, we're going to pass over the phone number and the name. So let's pass over the number, and then we're going to pass over the name. Now I'm not actually going to fill these out, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this JSON, so everything in between these squiggly brackets, and I'm going to paste it into GoHighLevel. You'll see what I mean here, because I'm going to fill these with variables, and it'll make more sense. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to configure, this is very powerful here, we're going to configure something called agent overrides. And what the agent overrides does is it allows us to pass information into VAPI. And then, like, you remember when we used the squiggly brackets inside of the prompt? So if we come in here to assistant, and you saw the hello message had sort of first name and then it had street address further in. Let's see if I can find it. The street address. We're going to pass in that information to voice VAPI so that it knows it during the call. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to structure this API call to include what's called assistant overrides. And so in the assistant overrides section, we are going to provide it with, let's see, where did it go? Did it get, yeah, it got added. Let me see where that's at. More optional properties. Assistant overrides. I thought there was a way. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is 30 additional properties. And then so what we're going to do here is we're going to pass in, it is called like variables, variable values. Perfect. So in here, we can add an item. And for example, we're going to pass in, I believe we said first name. And this is case sensitive, so you got to be careful. We're going to pass in street address. And if you wanted to pass in something like the contact ID, you could. So let me just make sure that our case is on point. So first name is camel case. Let me make sure that street address is also camel case. Yep, it's also camel case. Probably a good idea to copy and paste here, but here we go. So this is sort of the base of what we need. Now I can run this API call here to test a request, but I'm not going to. Really what I'm looking for is everything from this first squiggly bracket all the way down to this last squiggly bracket, and I'm going to omit those single quotes, meaning I'm not going to copy those. So I'm going to copy that, and then what we're going to do here is come into our GoHighLevel workflow, and then we are going to create a custom webhook. And in this webhook, we are going to post, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump my clipboard in here for now. So I just copied and pasted that in here for now. And then what I have to also copy and paste in here is this endpoint, which is https api.vapi.ai/call. So we're going to come in here and paste that in the URL. Method, if we look at the method here, it's looking for a post request here in blue, so we're going to keep that as post. And then authorization, we have I believe it's a bearer token. Let's see. Yep, so we've got this authorization bearer token, and we're going to dump our API key in there. So if we come into our dashboard, we are going to copy our API key one more time, and then we're going to save it in here. If you wanted to save your API key as a custom value and use a custom value in here, I recommend that. But for demo purposes, I'm just going to leave it this way. And headers. Do we need any headers? I think we do. I think we need one header. So if we come in here, you see these. Oh, we need two. One is already handled by the bearer authentication, but the second one, denoted by this tag H, that's a header field. We have content type, and then that content type is application JSON. So what we're going to do is come into here, and we will add headers, paste content type, and then just copy this application JSON without the quotes. Cool. Now, honestly, I think that might have been handled right here by the content type, but we'll leave it. I think it'll be just fine. So here we have the assistant ID. If you wanted to save that as a variable, you could. And then we have the phone number ID. So this is, remember, this is Tristan, and then this is sort of that toll-free demo phone number that we had. So now we're going to pass in customer data. So right here, I want to pass in the, let's see, contact. The nice thing about GoHighLevel is that when you start typing, it sort of has this autocomplete feature. But formatting is very important at this step. So this is JSON format. And if you mess up this format, the API call is going to fail. And there are tools out there that will sort of show you how to format JSON. It'll check and validate the format for you. Maybe I'll pull one up here in a second. But what we're going to do is continue to fill this out for now. So name, we're going to say contact name, and then there is no comma after this one because that is being ended with a squiggly bracket. Again, this is an advanced topic, so sorry if this is just sort of out of your league. I think it's simple. If you take the time to sit here and watch it and you're not distracted, you can pause it, go back. I think you can make it through it, but I do think that there's a little bit of complexity whenever you're dealing with APIs and custom integration. Let's see, first name. So what we want to do is we already passed in the contact name, but we're going to pass in first name because we use it in the prompt. And so I believe if we say contact first name. And I hate that this behaves this way, but that's what we don't want user first name. We want contact first name. Cool. And then street address, what we want is contact address 1. See this red dot here? This red dot is telling you that there's an error in here. So once we fix that, red dot should go away, and it did. But what we'll do is we'll open up a JSON validator. Let me drag this over. So if you just go to jsonformatter.org, here what you can do is you can copy this, and then you can paste this, and then validate. Validate? Maybe? I thought it would tell us. No? Let's just, if it's not telling us, let's just say it's good news. I don't know. It should be, let's see if we can find another one. JSON. Let's paste that in there, validate JSON. Cool, JSON is valid. So there's a bunch of tools out there. Just gonna be bombarded with ads, but that's okay. It's free, it's for me. Here we go. So we've got that in there. It's valid JSON. So what we'll do is come in and save the response from this webhook, and let's test it. Let's test it. Actually, we don't have a contact to test it on, and we don't even need to save the response from this webhook. So let's save that, save it, and we're just gonna send it. Let's name this because I have OCD. Trigger VAPI call. All right, let's publish this workflow. So now, anytime I fill out that form, I should get a call. And so I have a demo number in here. We could test this really fast, and let's see if a call comes in. Nothing like doing it live. Let's see. It should have called this number, and that's not working right now. It's good to know. Good to troubleshoot live. So let's come in here and see what happened. So it looks like it failed, and we'll view details. It looks like error message was customer number must be a valid number. Oh, yeah, we broke our own rule. I'm glad this happens. I leave this in here for a reason because this is going to happen to you. So we broke our own rule. We came in here and we formatted the phone number, and then we didn't even use the formatted phone number. We just used the contact phone number. So what we are going to do is remove this, and then custom values, we are going to look for number formatter, formatted phone number, result. Boom. That should work. Let's go ahead and validate our JSON since we made a change. JSON validator, that is here, paste that, validate. Looks like we're good to go. And then let's save it and see if we come back and we send the call. Let's see if it comes in. There it is. It worked. Awesome. I'm going to decline that call because we're not ready to talk to Tristan just yet. Also, I just noticed we named it Tristan, but then I think we told it was Chloe. So let's fix that. Tristan, anywhere? Chloe, you anywhere else in here? Yep. Tristan. Where else are you? Again, this isn't a masterclass on prompting. All right, cool. So let's publish that. All right, now, so we got the sort of the exciting part to happen. We submitted a form, and then within 10 seconds, we got a call, which is powerful in and of itself. But now when the call happens, we want to actually collect some information. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here and create another workflow. So we have our VAPI sort of trigger outbound call. Next thing we're going to do is create our VAPI receive. I'm going to say EOC report just to be short. So receive end of call report, and what we're going to search for here is inbound webhook. And we are going to copy this webhook, come back into our assistant, go into advanced, and remember this section here where I said server URL is empty now. We're going to paste that in there and then publish it. So now when the call is complete, we're going to receive an end of call report to this workflow. And then what we do with that workflow is essentially we're going to create a contact or update a contact. And so we might have to make a call to test this. And so let's go ahead and do that. So we're actually going to make a quick call. Submit that form again. And come in here. Hello?
Hi, Justin. This is Tristan with Flipping Fayetteville. You recently requested a cash offer on your property, 123 Main Street. Is now a good time to take 2 minutes to gather some details for our cash offer team?
Yeah, sure. Now I'm actually going to go through and answer all the questions so we have all the structured data.
Are you the owner of the property, or do you have the legal right to sell it?
I inherited the property, so I do have the rights to sell it, but I inherited it.
I see. Thank you for letting me know. Unfortunately, we can only work directly with owners or those authorized to sell. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great day.
That's interesting. So that would be a scenario where we fixed the prompting because I told it, hey, I inherited it, but I have the rights to sell it. And so I'm not going to go through and troubleshoot the prompting now, but this is sort of the troubleshooting that you're going to have to go through whenever you're creating these bots. But what we're going to do is come back in here and let's trigger that call again. And next time I'll just tell it that I am the owner just so that we can make it through. What I want to do is give it all the information so that when that webhook comes in, we have all that structured data so we can configure the workflow correctly. Let's see. Did I submit that? I did. Why didn't that come through? Let's see. Maybe I have it set to, let me save this really fast. Oh, sample request. There's one in here. Let me save this for now. Okay, delete this. Sure. I'm just going to go through and delete that contact just to make sure we don't have any conflicts. Guys, I leave all this troubleshooting in here for a reason because like when you build something out, it's not going to go as smooth as everybody makes it seem. We're troubleshooting this together. And then just for good measure, we're going to come in here and see what happened with that last API call. It says it failed. Couldn't start call. Numbers bought on VAPI have a daily outbound call limit. Interesting. All right, so I figured out what happened, and it's pretty frustrating. So I guess they VAPI recently placed a safety function to prevent spam. And so essentially, if you buy a number on VAPI, which is probably under Twilio's own or VAPI's own Twilio account, they limit you to how many daily calls you can make. And I was testing this earlier, and so maybe I reached a daily cap. But you should still be able to, especially if you're new to VAPI, go over here and buy a new number and have this actually accomplished. But what I had to do was import a phone number from Twilio, it's pretty easy, but luckily I already had a Twilio account open. If you don't know what Twilio is sort of this. Let me drag this over. Pretty simple to set up. There's documentation all over the internet on how to do this. Again, I don't want to stray too much from this, but you can essentially buy phone numbers, manage phone numbers inside of Twilio. It's what GoHighLevel uses on the back end for their LC phone system, and then also what VAPI uses. So I just came in here, I imported my phone number, it came in immediately, it was pretty easy. And then all I had to do was copy this ID. Actually, I haven't made that change yet, so copy this phone number ID, and then we're gonna come in here and then replace that with the new one and then save. So now back to regularly scheduled programming. Let's actually trigger this workflow so that we can have a call, come in, and we can have that conversation. There it is.
Hi, Justin. This is Tristan with Flipping Fayetteville. You recently requested a cash offer on your property, 123 Main Street. Is now a good time to take 2 minutes to gather some details for our cash offer team?
Yeah, make it quick.
Great. Let's get started. First off, can you confirm that you are the owner of the property?
I am.
Or do you have the legal right to... Perfect. Thank you. Now, can you confirm the address of the property you're considering selling?
Yeah, the address you read off in the beginning is good.
Got it. Thanks for confirming that. Is the property currently occupied? If so, is it owner occupied or a rental property?
It's tenant occupied.
Understood. Do you know the terms of the lease? For example, is it a month-to-month lease or something longer?
It's a month-to-month lease.
Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell me a little bit about why you are considering selling the property?
Yeah, I'm looking to liquidate my rental properties this year.
I understand. How soon are you looking to sell the property? Are you hoping to close quickly, or is there some flexibility?
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Got it. I'll make a note of that so our team can reach out to you at the right time. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share or ask about?
No, I think that's all.
Thank you for your time. I'll pass the information to our team, and they'll be in touch soon to discuss your cash offer.
Now, I rushed over here to turn on the workflow because I didn't have it on, but I think the webhook would have been received anyway. If we come in here and we see we have a few webhooks that came in, and so the most recent one was the 1515. Okay, so here we have all this information. So VAPI immediately sent all this information in, and this structured data is what we're really interested in right here. And so we've got occupancy, tenant occupied month to month. And so that's the expectation. It analyzed the conversation and it pulled this information out. Motivation, looking to liquidate rental properties this year. This is cool information because the seller said multiple rental properties or said properties. And so this is good information for the wholesaler or the real estate investment company. And then seller timeline, ASAP, caller is the owner, callback time, anytime. The other thing we're interested in here is the phone number, and that's because we are going to update this contact. And so let's see, I think it's down here under customer information. There you go. So customer information, phone number. So all this stuff's going to be accessible here. So what we're going to do is save this trigger, and then we are going to create a contact, and then we're going to add a field. And this contact technically already exists because, does this exist as a matter of fact? Yeah, because we filled out the form. So the contact already exists. Now in GoHighLevel, if you try to create a contact that already exists, it'll update it. This is called create slash, there's no slash here, but update contact. So what we're gonna do is sort of use the phone number as the lookup ID. So if we come in here to tags, inbound webhook, message, scroll down to customer, and then scroll to the side, phone number. So that's the phone number. That's sort of the primary key. That's how we're going to look up the phone number. And then we are going to update these fields. So we had our custom fields in here that said like ownership status. Come in here, inbound webhook, message, analysis, structured data. And then we had ownership status. Let's try to go in order. So occupancy. This is just sort of a rinse and repeat here. Analysis, structured data, occupancy. What's the next thing we asked for? Motivation was something. Motivation. So analysis, structured data, motivation, seller timeline, inbound webhook, message analysis, structured data, seller timeline, and what's the last one? Offer callback time. Add field, offer callback time, inbound webhook, message, analysis, structured data, offer callback time. Cool. So we'll save that. And now at this point, that call, now that we're completely set up, this workflow will be triggered when the call is complete, and that information should be stored in our GoHighLevel CRM. But at this point, it's not going to be because we just sort of finalized this workflow. So what I'm going to do is come over here and I will restart this by, I'm just going to delete this contact so you know that we're starting from scratch. Cool. Let me give this a second to delete. Awesome, the contact's deleted. So we're gonna have that call one last time. I'm gonna answer the questions exactly like I did, and then hopefully all that information is stored. So to recap, we're filling out a form, triggering an outbound call, having a conversation, having VAPI analyze that conversation, send it back to GoHighLevel, and store that data in our CRM. Let's do it. So let's come back.
Hi Hi, Justin. This is Tristan with Flipping Fayetteville. You recently requested a cash offer on your property, 123 Main Street. Is now a good time to take 2 minutes to gather some details for our cash offer team?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Let's get started. First things first. Can you confirm that you are the owner of the property, or do you have the legal right to sell it?
Yeah, I'm the owner.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming that. Now, could you verify the address of the property you're considering selling?
Yeah, you called me and you told me the address, so it's the same address that you have on file.
Got it. Just wanted to make sure. Is the property currently occupied? If so, is it owner occupied or a rental property?
It's a rental property.
Got it. What are the terms of the lease? For example, is it month to month or a longer term lease?
Month-to-month lease.
Thanks for sharing that. Can you tell me a little bit about why you are considering selling the property?
Yeah, I'm just looking to liquidate my rental properties this year.
Understood. How soon are you looking to sell? Are you hoping to close quickly, or is there some flexibility?
As soon as humanly possible.
I understand. When would be the best time for one of our offer specialists to reach out about your cash offer?
I'm retired, so you can call me anytime. Sooner the better.
Got it. I'll make a note of that so they can connect with you at the perfect time. Thank you so much.
All right, so I'm going to end the call there. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you noticed that on that call, there's like background noise. And in VAPI, you can configure that background noise. That's another pro, I should say. But it's pretty sweet. She responds really fast. I didn't speed that up or cut that up or anything. So pretty cool. So let's come in here and let's see if we have a contact. Looks like we do have a contact. We come in here and if we come down here to our voice demo, we have ownership status. The caller is the owner. Seller timeline ASAP. Callback anytime. Looking to liquidate rental property. And then tenant occupied month to month. So just like that, we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We triggered an outbound call, had a conversation, analyzed that call, stored that information in our CRM. Now, this wasn't straightforward, right? We got through it, but a lot of these builds, a lot of sort of this cutting edge technology takes time, takes iteration, it takes some troubleshooting. So hopefully you found this video valuable. There's another video that I have somewhere, I'll probably link it somewhere here, where you can watch me create an inbound voice assistant where I focus a little bit more on prompting if that's an area that you're interested in. And if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, share it, comment down below. Your feedback is so important to me. If I don't get any feedback, I don't know if this content's resonating with anybody. So please, thank you for those who support me. Thank you for your continued support. And if you found value here, please and leave a comment. And that's it. Bye for now.